Top 5 Tuesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That is the Natalie clad in his Titans gear, Wade Neely.
I'm not giving up just yet. A lot of folks are throwing in the towel on week one. I'm hanging strong. I at least need to see week two before I go. And Jets versus Titans, I can't lose on Sunday.
But you can't win either.
I really can't win a lot either. I can't win a lot, but I can't lose a lot on Sunday. So, but yeah, we're ready to rock and roll, baby.
We're coming to you from the Lee Company Studios here on West 7th Street in Columbia. Glad to be with you guys for the next couple of hours discussing sports of local, regional, and national impact. So stick around. It's going to be fun. We're already off to a fun start. In the second hour, right at the top of the second hour, we will visit, because it is Tuesday, with the Blue Raider voice, Chip Walters. And hopefully Chip is still chipper despite the trip to Oxford, because one thing's for sure, Ole Miss has never lost a party, and they certainly didn't lose a ball game Saturday either. But yeah, to be realistic, that's about what we expected.
Yeah, tough result for MTSU. And like I said yesterday, just hope it doesn't damage their psyche too much, because they got a massive game coming up this weekend, really of more importance than last weekend.
Really and truly it is.
Yeah.
I think that that's something that a certain former coach never did really grasp. It's nice to win those games like last week's, but this game like this one coming up are the ones that we got to win to do what we as alumni ultimately want to see MTSU do. So, but yeah, we'll talk more with Chip Walters at the top of hour number 2 on that. In our next segment, we will visit with Justin Adams of CBS Sports Colorado, getting a little closer to Boulder, which is kind of becoming one of the epicenters of college football. And so looking forward to talking to somebody with constant feet on the ground regarding the Buffaloes and Coach Prime. So that'll be fun as well. We'll also be talking little Braves.
Deep breaths.
Deep breaths.
It's almost over one way or the other.
Yeah.
You go out on the highest of highs, you got about 3 more months. You go out on the lowest of lows, you got about another month. I mean, so it's coming toward the end. So either way, so we just ride the lightning and ride the energy. But yes, deep breaths for now.
Absolutely.
I'll be your guru to get you through it. Your spiritual breath advisor.
Thank you. You know what's crazy is there was a time when we were having to talk you back off the ledge regarding the Astros, and the Braves were rolling, and how the turns table.
But you know what happened? Hey, they always talk about it. You just got to let go and let God. And I realized, that's 162 games. I wanted to chip in on the show and pretend like I'm a big baseball guy. I just had to say, you know what? Just let it wash over me. And the second I did that, Houston, not only did they start winning, which is funny how that changes things, but yeah, it's 162 games. One team's going to win it all. Probably won't be either one of our teams, and the sooner we kind of come to grips with that and just let it wash over. I'm just trying to I'm getting my Zen state here. Maybe it's Western Kentucky weekend. I'm already, that's been a horrific weekend for a lot of years. So maybe I'm just trying to be a little more grounded this week because it's not often that Michigan, the Titans, the Jets, and MTSU all lose in the same weekend, but it all happened this past weekend.
Goodness. Wow. Man, when you put it that way, it's kind of.
I'm telling you, just let go. Just let it wash over you, baby.
There we go.
Things will happen. You will enjoy it. The universe will open up in ways for you in which you never imagined.
We got some other baseball to talk about, and thank goodness, but we're looking forward to that in the third segment as well. We'll also be talking a little other NFL, a little college football, and some other things in the grab bag right before Top 5 Tuesday. Top HBO shows. Now, I'm going to preface this, and I will preface it again later. I've not watched a lot of these shows, but obviously I've heard a lot of chatter about them over the years, and I think I can come up with a fairly solid list of top 5 HBO shows. We'll be doing that in the final segment of the show.
With just us two, yeah, we should be. There will be many, many, many omissions. I feel pretty confident.
Maybe we can draft producer Mark into participation.
I would like to make the motion. He's got an hour or two to think about it. Yeah, let's get producer Mark in on the list and
just to
spread the wealth.
Kind of round things out a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Give us a little added perspective. So yeah, that'd be great if we can get producer Mark to pipe up in the final segment.
And I could be wrong, but I feel like Eastbound and Down is in play when producer Mark enters the draft room. So let me just say that. That are 6 feet under, one of the two.
There you go. That's what the show is going to look like over the next hour and 54 minutes. So let's go ahead and jump into it with no further ado as we give you yesterday's results and today's schedule on the rundown.
This is the rundown.
To the rundown we go, and we jump back into the scoreboard from last night. Volleyball action, BGA knocking off Columbia Academy. 3-0 was your final there. It was Battle Creek picking up a 3-1 win over Marshall County. Middle Tennessee Christian 3, Franklin Road Academy 0. Murfreesboro Central Magnet defeats Cascade in straight sets. 3-0 there. It was Providence Christian 3-0 versus Webb School. 5-set thriller between Green Hill and Riverdale. Green Hill wins it 3-2. Also 5 sets as Mount Pleasant defeats Santa Fe last night, 3-2. Rockvale with a 3-2 win versus Smyrna. Summertown in 5 sets over Spring Hill. And it was a sweep last night for Zion Christian versus Boyd Senior Christian. 3-0 was your final there. Girls soccer, we got a lot of games on the schedule tonight, but a few games were played last night. Here are those match results. It was Clarksville 2, Rossview 0. Culleoka with a 9-0 win versus Loretto. Gallatin picks up the 3-0 win versus Portland. McGavick 2-0 over Glencliff. And Lipscomb Academy knocking off Mount Juliet 2-1. Major League Baseball action, the Reds defeating the Braves last night 1-0. And on Monday Night Football last night, it was the 49ers defeating the Jets 32-19 to cap the Week 1 NFL slate.
High school volleyball action today, beginning at 5 o'clock. Santa Fe takes off for Houston County. I hope they're on the road right now. Lewis County is at Summertown at 5. At 5:45, University School of Nashville travels south, taking on Columbia Academy. Also, the Webb School of Bell Buckle is at Grace Christian Franklin at 5:45. Finally, at 5:45, Providence Christian is at Middle Tennessee Christian. 6 o'clock starts for Loretto at Perry County, Riverdale at Siegel, Spring Hill hosting Coffee County, White County traveling to Stewart's Creek, Gallatin at Beach, Culleoka goes to Cannon County, Cascade hosting Battle Creek, Smyrna is at Cookville, Fayetteville is at Eagleville, Johns County hosting Murfreesboro Central, Collinwood travels to Hampshire, Lebanon is at Laverne, and Columbia Central goes down 43 to Lawrence County. Again, all of those are 6 o'clock starts. At 6:30, Rockvale is at Blackman.
That concludes our volleyball action for tonight. Let's tap into girls soccer. A lot of games to get into, and they begin in just a little bit at 4 o'clock when Hunters Lane travels to Hillsboro. At 4:30 this afternoon, Stratford will be at Whites Creek. Also at 4:30, Cane Ridge traveling to Antioch. At 5 o'clock this evening, it'll be Mount Juliet traveling to Clarksville Academy. BGA on the road tonight at Franklin Road Academy. Columbia Academy visiting Grace Christian Franklin. Tullahoma is at Lawrence County this evening. John Overton at Lawson tonight. Also coming up at 5 p.m., it'll be Davidson Academy at Liberty Creek. Marshall County at Murfreesboro Central Magnet. Middle Tennessee Golden Eagles traveling to St. Cecilia Academy. And final 5 p.m. kickoff tonight will be Lead Academy at STEM Academy. That gets us into a solo matchup at 5:30. Middle Tennessee Christian is at University School of Nashville. Now we tap into the 6 o'clock window where we see the following matches. Clarksville at Kirkwood. Cheatham County at McEwen. Harpeth at Montgomery Central. Macon County at Portland. Glencliff at Watertown this evening. Smyrna at Wilson Central. Hickman County on the road at Zion Christian. White House Heritage traveling to Clarksville Northeast. Laverne taking on Cookville tonight on the road. Waverly visiting Creekwood. Greenbrier is at East Robertson. Harpeth Hall, is at Innsworth. Providence Christian is at FCA. And closing our 6 o'clock kickoff tonight is Sycamore, who's at Fairview tonight.
6:30 first touch for Donaldson Christian at Friendship Christian. Also, Valor Collegiate travels to Martin Luther King at 6:30. Columbia Central is at Warren County at 6:30. At 7, Rockvale is at Blackman. Franklin goes to Brentwood. Summit travels to Centennial. Hendersonville hosts Christ Presbyterian Academy. Page is at Independence. West Creek goes to Kenwood. Lebanon hosts in Stewart's Creek. White House is at Merrill Hyde. Nolensville is at Ravenwood at 7. Springfield goes to Rossview. Siegel hosts Riverdale. And Lincoln County is at Spring Hill. All of those are 7 o'clock starts. Major League Baseball action this evening, 5:45. The Braves are in Washington taking on the Nationals. That game can be seen on Valley Sports South. And MLB TV for this one at 7:10 as Oakland travels to Minute Maid Park taking on the Astros. Down at First Horizon Park, the Nashville Sounds open a 6-game series, the 7th of their 12-game homestand, as they take on the Memphis Redbirds. And in WNBA action tonight, 6:30 on the NBA TV, you've got the Lynx at the Dream. At 7 on CBS Sports Network, you've got the Liberty at the Ever Dangerous Wings.
Yeah.
And at 9 o'clock, you've got the Sun at the Sparks. Ladies and gentlemen, that is your rundown. Your top story brought to you, as always, by Piggly Wiggly in Neely's Mill in Columbia. Be sure and get through there for their delicious daily deli lunch options that are available from 11 a.m. till 6 p.m. Also, their hand-cut meats and everything is cost plus 10% at the cash register. Let me just tell you, the apple cobbler is on point. I just had it a little bit ago. So, Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill, Columbia, bringing you our top story. A few days ago, we discussed the tragic passing of Columbus Blue Jackets forward Johnny Gaudreau and his brother Matthew. They were in New Jersey preparing for their sister's wedding. They were out riding bikes and they were hit by an impaired driver and killed. Well, their memorial services were held yesterday, and Johnny's wife announced that she was pregnant with their third child. Matthew's wife, Johnny's brother and sister-in-law, had already confirmed that they were expecting their first child. So Matthew and his wife were expecting their first child. Johnny and Meredith were expecting their third child when the brothers were killed tragically. And man, I just don't know. As bad as this situation was, you just didn't think it could get any worse.
No, you said exactly what I was thinking, partner, because, yeah, just when you think the situation could not have reached a more kind of saddening state, things have just reached an even crazier level. This is obviously terrible, terrible news. And, you know, the amount of tragedy that family's already dealing with kind of just compounded there. That is a very, very, very difficult situation to be in for a variety of factors. And it sounds like it was just heightened by that news from both of those parties that come out there.
I mean, it's just, I can't imagine how they feel, for one thing.
Yeah.
And anything that I would say would be trivializing it, but it just feels like they just can't get away from brothers getting killed, you know, the day before their sister gets married, and they were there to be, you know, involved in that ceremony and to be involved in that celebration, and to the fact that they were both getting ready to be fathers, one for the first time. And those kids they'll grow up, you know, not knowing their fathers. I mean, they'll know of them clearly,
right?
Because the family is going to do everything they can to make sure of that, but they won't know them, and that's just grief and tragedy beyond belief. And I just can't imagine what that family's going through.
No, and like you said, every kind of there's going to be so many reminders, right? And There was a cool tribute the Boston College put out during that, or ESPN, I should say, put out during the Boston College broadcast a couple nights ago when they took on Florida State. Bob Wischusen doing a great job of kind of bringing that, trying to bring a little bit of somewhat of a tribute / closure there. But man, this is just a really tragic story that, as we just mentioned, is kind of taking an even more tragic turn, perhaps.
Madeline Gaudreau, Matthew's wife, this last week has felt like I've been trapped in a nightmare I can't wake up from. I feel numb, angry, sad, blessed all at once. Some days the thought of this new reality is debilitating, but mostly I just miss Matt. The 14 years we spent together will never be enough, but I will cherish those and carry them close to me, especially on the extremely hard days. And that's... He was born to be a dad. The moment we found out about our son Trip, it consumed his every day. He was downloading apps, ordering books, finding the best diaper brand, making sure I had the best vitamins, and asking for tips from John. I will never forget the tears he had in his eyes when he first heard Trip's heartbeat. I know Matt will surround his son for the rest of his life. I mean, it's just indescribable, man, what those folks are going through.
Yeah, don't obviously wish that on anybody, and that is going to be a very difficult thing to have to deal with. Yeah, not just, I mean, everywhere you turn, like I said, there's going to be, unfortunately, constant reminders, which is the real kind of unfortunate part of this as well.
Madeline Gaudreau also made a point at the memorial service to urge people not drink and drive. Please do not put another family through this torture. And if you take anything with you, that might be it. And let's go ahead and take a break here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we return, we'll be talking a little Colorado football with former Buffalo Justin Adams of CBS Sports Colorado. Stay tuned when we return to the Lee Company Studios after this. Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
He shoots, and he scores!
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you. No matter what's happening in the world, or at your house.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers, putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
Top 5 Tuesday continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. In our final segment, we will be giving you our top 5 HBO shows, and we may even get a cameo from producer Mark on that. But right now, we will visit with CBS Sports Colorado's former Buffalo, Justin Adams. So this situation is kind of hitting on a different level for journalist Justin Adams. So, Justin, what's going on, man? How are you doing?
Brother, I'm doing well. I did finally get all the red off my face from that Nebraska game. I went to Lincoln.
I saw that.
Yeah. You know, they got some really great fans over there. I describe Nebraska fans like this. If you're sick, they will go, man, give you some chicken noodle soup. They'll wrap you up in a blanket if you're cold. They'll kick up your feet, man, if you need something just to relax on. And then they'll put an 85-inch TV in front of your face while they're beating you by 50. That's exactly what they'll do to you.
Will and did, huh? You know, Justin, the Deion Sanders era at Colorado began with obvious excitement and with good reason. Where are Colorado fans on the Deion Sanders experience right now?
I think a lot of fans, and for good reason, I may add, they saw the 3-0 start last year. They saw the 4-2 start last year, and they saw the Stanford game, the first half, and they thought, okay, we're going to be good. Everything's turned around. This team was 1-11 the year before. We see the talent on the field. We're going to a bowl game. And then the second half of the Stanford game, everything has changed. And the team has only won one game since then. And that one game was against an FCS team. So a lot of people are really trying to figure out what's this team about. And so once you go to Nebraska and you lose in the fashion that you've lost against Nebraska, where your offensive line was getting dominated, giving up 5 sacks, it felt like 20 sacks, right? Where you couldn't run the ball to the point where you didn't even try to run the ball. There are some people in town who are just saying, I'm out. I'm out on Deion Sanders. I'm out on the Coach Prime experience. There are others who are saying, hey, you still got to be patient. Let's see what happens. I will tell you this. This game against Colorado State coming up is a big game for many reasons. There are a lot of fans who will look and say, if you don't beat Colorado State, then they're completely out, even though you're in year 2 of your regime. So it's a big game for Coach Prime, big game for the Colorado Buffaloes in order to be the in-state rival at their place for once.
And, you know, you being a, quote, Power 4 member, Colorado State being a Group 5 member. But, you know, Jay Norvell, and I mean, we saw Colorado State last season come into Middle Tennessee State and take care of the Blue Raiders. I mean, that is not a bad football team. And you can't just throw your black and gold helmets out there on the field and come off with a win.
No, especially when the game is going to be in Fort Collins for the first time since 1996. Think about this, guys. The first time since 96. I don't know what you were doing, but I sure wasn't talking about football in 96, all right? I think I was playing with some G.I. Joe toys or something like that at the time. But it's that type of game where you're going to have a similar atmosphere to what you had in Nebraska, at least to the point of that is going to mean so much more to the people at Fort Collins. You have to match that intensity and then surpass it and let your talent actually win over. But this is one of those games where I hope it's not the Shedeur Sanders show 100%. I hope that you really go out and say, we can run the football. We can exert our will. Because if you can, you will help make sure that Shedeur doesn't take all those unnecessary hits that he has in the first 2 games.
Here's the thing, though. I mean, because when they had a chance to put that North Dakota State game away a couple of weeks ago, they didn't run the ball. They were up 5, and all they had to do was just basically run the clock out, and they're throwing the ball out to the perimeter because, as we talked to David Ubben of The Athletic, who was in Boulder that night, they couldn't establish a push up front. I mean, for everything else and for all of the kids that have come in there during Deion's tenure, no offensive lineman?
Yeah, you know what's interesting too is that that's tough to say because take a look at Oregon State, and the majority of the offensive linemen that played at Colorado last year are now at Oregon State, and they can run the football. Some of it's just a mindset type of deal. I mean, let's just call it what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Some of it is we understand that we have a nice quarterback. I get it, right? When USC had Caleb Williams, they want to throw the ball over the field too. I get it. But in the same way, you still have to go and play the fundamentals and play complementary football. If you're not going to run the rock, you're going to leave your offensive line that hasn't gelled together at all. You're going to leave them at a loss, right? You're going to leave Shedeur Sanders on an island being ready to get tackled by anybody. And when you look at last week, for example, he couldn't step up in the pocket. When you have a big guy who's pushing the middle of the pocket, right? And you can't step up, then what's going to happen? You have the guys on the edges that are able to make plays, and then you get jittery in the pocket, and you have to go outside the pocket to make plays happen. And that's what we saw last week, and that's the reason why that Shedeur was sacked as many times as he was. So you have to make that a mindset. You have to say, we're going to run the football, figure out a way how to get it done, because at the end of the day, these are D1 athletes, and this isn't the first time that they have went out and said, we're going to run the football on somebody else and exert our will on someone else. Figure out a way how to get it done and do it this week.
And Justin, I'm curious. Two things can be true at once, and it feels like this program more than any program that could apply to, because Sanders, with his comments after the game about the play of the offensive line, yes, maybe worthy of some criticism in the sense that he was kind of bashing some teammates, but his point was valid. He said, hey, Raiola didn't get hit. Did you see how many hits Raiola took? Look how many hits I took. I just find it fascinating that this team has got some obvious flaws, and they're trending kind of in the right direction, but because of the attention and the scrutiny, man, it makes it really tough to kind of solve some of those problems in real time, it feels like.
It's really the microscope, right? That's on one thing, right? So it keeps you away from looking at all the different things that you actually have that's going right for your team. It keeps you away from looking and saying, hey, this is a defense that shut out a team in the second half. And don't get me wrong, like, we know that you're up 28-0, but last year CU was up 29-0 on Stanford. And how did that work out in the second half, right? So you still had a defense that showed up then and was able to apply their pressure, exert their force on Nebraska from there. But I'm of the belief that you cannot say that we cannot run the football if you do not try to run the football. Fellas, the running backs run the ball 5 times. 5 times. Think about that. 5 times in the first half. What are we doing? One of those times was 4th and 1, and you're running the ball out of shotgun. So let me get this right. You're going to run the ball out of shotgun, hand it off to somebody on a zone concept, and you're trying to pick up 1 yard, and you think that's going to work? What are we doing here? So that's where you look at what Nebraska was doing. They had jet motions. They had all these other different deals. They had so many different runs in their package. They were able to go and, again, I said it earlier, exert their force on the Buffs. What I would love to see from Colorado this week is to not just say that we're going to make a commitment to the running game. I would just say, just do it. Figure it out. If it's pistol set, if it's under center, bring in a fullback, bring in a tight end. Heck, bring me in. I got 2 more years left of eligibility. I know I'm old and dusty and washed, but heck, bring me in. I'll help out, okay? Just bring somebody in the game. Finally try to run the football. And if you go 3 runs and punt, then guess what? You go 3 punts and run. And punt, 3 runs and punt, because it's not just about this game, but it's about when you get into conference play to be able to know that you can go up against the Kansas States, the Utahs, go on the road at Kansas, and be able to win those games. And I guarantee you, if you're just one-dimensional, I don't care how good your quarterback is, if you're one-dimensional in the Big 12, you will be beat, or we'll just call you Texas Tech, and we'll see how far they have gone in their program.
Justin Adams of CBS Sports Colorado joining us here on Main Street Sports today. As a former player, like I said, I'm sure this hits a little differently. Do you feel like watching what this has devolved into is a little bit more frustrating?
Well, it's more frustrating because you see the talent. That's what's frustrating about it, right? Like, it's frustrating when you have a team that you know what they could do. You know that they're much better than what they showed you against Nebraska in a primetime game, and they crap the bed that way. I hope we can say that, right? They did what my baby girl does in her diaper, right? She's 2, by the way. She's getting potty trained, but in any respects, it's frustrating because this team is close, and that's what it comes down to. Is that this team can really do a lot of things. It's interesting. BJ Green, who's one of their defensive linemen, he doesn't have any sacks, and he came over from Arizona State, but he's the type of guy who can get a lot of sacks, and he says, look, we're just close. If I could go and cut down on my steps, if I could go and make sure that I just give myself a half second in order to get to the quarterback, those quarterback hits will become sacks. I feel that the same way with this team, is that if you put them in the right position to succeed, they have enough talent to make plays out there on the field. But again, you just haven't showed it yet. And you're still talking about a team that, going back to last year against Stanford, has had one win, and that's against an FCS opponent.
I was just ready to ask you, Justin, from the national narrative, this has been kind of such a fascinating experiment from the jump. And, that game last year, I remember staying up super late to watch that double overtime matchup last year. I mean, it was absolutely electric. Now my question is, does the national media, does the national spotlight check out potentially with a loss this weekend in this Rocky Mountain Showdown?
With the loss, I don't think they check out. I think they check in, and they put all the checks on the right side, right? The L's, and they're going to come down as hard as they can on how this experiment isn't working, how Coach Prime has no idea what he's doing, what's going on at the University of Colorado. They're just back at square one. But what I would tell you is this: Fox has the Colorado Baylor game the following week in primetime. Mm-hmm. People will continue to watch. So even as you say that, yeah, they may not be the team that deserves to be the Alabamas or the Ohio States from a viewership perspective. That's what they're getting. They're getting those type of numbers. So I cannot think of a world where they lose to Colorado State this week, especially after how they were getting blasted last week in Nebraska. But if that does happen, it will make the end of September very interesting and very dicey in Boulder.
And I guess that was kind of my point, is we have these nationally televised games because of the attention, and then if the results kind of fall off, and especially I remember that second half of the season last year, there were still some big primetime games, and man, the attention was just not there. A 7-point favorite on the road, I just don't know. I'll be fascinated to watch this game, because until I see Colorado do it on the road as a big favorite like that, I don't know what to expect, just to be honest with you, going into this game this weekend.
And you said the biggest thing that everyone's saying: we don't know what to expect. Honestly, we have no idea what to expect, because the first game you could say, okay, North Dakota State, one of the top FCS teams, we get it, we understand, right? Even though they were really 4 yards away from upsetting Colorado at home. If they would have got that Hail Mary, would have had 4 more yards, right? So we just looked at that game and said, okay, there's some things we could look at. Travis Hunter had a tremendous game with 3 touchdowns in that one. Now you look at this game going up against Colorado State, and you're saying, you got to win this one. You got to figure out a way how to win this one. And you look at the Rams, and they're playing with, as I like to say, church money. Like, there's no pressure on their shoulders, because if they win, then they will be the story of all college football for, 24 hours, 48 hours? But if the Buffs win, then it's, you did what you're supposed to do, now go into conference play, and now beat Baylor. Like, that's what you were supposed to do. So it's an interesting game on both sides. Very interesting to see what will happen. And I guarantee you that everyone will be tuned in to CBS to see what happens in this one.
Justin, I don't know how much access or how often the Colorado press corps has access to AD Rick George. How's he feeling right now?
Ooh, that's a good one. I saw Rick. Interestingly enough, I saw Rick before the Nebraska game. There was an alumni event, and I was there. And I went to the game, the Nebraska game, as a fan. So as an alum, I just went there. I just wanted to see something different and check it out from there. And he looked very calm. He didn't look disheveled at all. And I think of this: Rick wants to win in the worst way. He wants to win. but Rick's also cashing those checks now. There's a lot of checks that's coming through to the University of Colorado because may not be fully the success on the field as of yet, but you are getting those eyeballs. And so you're cashing checks from there. You do want to win. I think there's a little bit of uneasiness that he may have. Now, is there any idea that he's going to fire, Coach Prime, Deion Sanders? Is he going to do that? No, that's not going to happen, right? But what I could see is, hey, man, we really got to, if we want to keep any type of momentum going, these are the type of wins we must have. I mean, you look at Colorado's schedule. You beat Colorado State. You figure out a way how to beat Baylor at home, which you'll be favored in that one. Then you go to Central Florida. That's a very interesting game because if you do win that game, you're going into a bye week at 4-1. And think about that, guys. With 7 games remaining, you're 4-1. And don't get me wrong, the last part of the schedule is extremely difficult. But you can find 2 more wins. You're at Texas Tech. You have Cincinnati at home. There's a way to be able to get to a bowl game before you get to the gauntlet at the end of the season. But it all comes back to handling your business. And I tell you what, if you handle your business, then Rick George and the rest of the Black and Gold faithful and all the Prime fans, they'll be very satisfied about the season.
Are Colorado and Deion Sanders kind of victims of expectations?
Yeah, expectations that you put on yourself, right? Because the first year it was more so of, and there's a term that he says, first year is more of an introduction. This year is now of expectation. That's not my words, right? That's Deion Sanders saying this is the year of expectation. Well, if this is the year of expectation, then you have to go and get some results in the W column and not losses. And you don't want your team to look the same way that they did last year, because that's exactly what we saw. And nobody wants to see the same story we played over and over and over again, where Shedeur is in 5 wide receiver sets and being sacked before he gets to his drop. Like, you don't want to see that. You want to see this team to be able to come out and play well. So the biggest thing is to come out different. And if you're going to go and at least compete in the Big 12 to be one of those teams, then you better find yourself a running game. Defense, I think, will be fine. But you need to find yourself a running game, or you're not going to beat Kansas State. Guys, you know this. You're not going to beat Kansas State. You're not going to beat Utah at Utah, or Utah's coming to Boulder. You're not going to beat Oklahoma State when they have one of the best running backs in the nation. You just go down the line. If you're going to be able to do that, even Texas Tech, right? I talked a little bit about them and their error rate spread out system. You still have to control the clock. You have to control that ball. You have to force some turnovers. And what's the best way to do it is to get on top of teams and to be able to put pressure on them. I will say one of the biggest things this year that has been a little bit disappointing about the Buffs, they haven't had the lead in the first quarter. I would say not haven't had the lead in the first quarter, but they haven't taken the – did they have – wait a minute. Let me take that back. They had the lead a little bit against North Dakota State, but they haven't scored first. That's my biggest frustration with this team, is that they haven't got off to a fast start on offense or on defense. North Dakota State, what did they do in their first drive? They went down, they scored a field goal. Sure, the Buffs went down on their first drive and scored a touchdown, but North Dakota State came right back down and scored a touchdown. Back and forth from there. What happened against Nebraska? You're looking at 28-0 before you know it. It got to the point where it's 21-0. And guys, I remember playing video games. If it's 21-0, you get kicked off the sticks. So you're talking about a team that would have been kicked off the sticks last week. So at what point will the Buffs be the team that actually punches first and not have to try to counterpunch? That's what I want to see for this team, to come out on offense or defense. I don't care if you have the ball first, but you need to go and punch first and not give up points.
Absolutely. And Justin, I was going to ask you real quick before we get you out of here, what did you take away? There's a lot of national chatter about Nebraska after that win last week. And obviously Raiola at least looks like the part. And he's doing his best Patrick Mahomes impersonations with all of his headbands and the pregame theatrics. Is Nebraska set up for success this year, or are they maybe still a year away in your mind?
They have a legitimate D-line. They have a really good schedule that's going to really help boost them up, especially in the top 25. They'll be one of the teams that can win 8-9 games. They can even sneak and win 10, to be honest with you, just because of the way that their schedule is set up. I will say this, and I talked to a couple of friends of mine, one is an alum, the way that they're recruiting and the way that they have 87,000, they could pack 93 into Memorial Stadium. Guys, be prepared for Nebraska to be back, 100%. And this coming from a guy who has who was bred to hate Nebraska. But that Go Big Red and everything that they have, they are doing it right. Matt Rule is building up that program. Be very, very careful that you have a team that's been sleeping for a while. That's kind of like that's been underground, waiting to come back out, ready to rise from the ashes. That's a program that's ready to do so. They got a quarterback who's a freshman. He's only going to get better. They have a running game. They have a nice D-line. They're going to get some explosive wide receivers and be able to go and really have a nice defense. Be careful for Nebraska in a couple of years, guys. They could be a team that College Game Day, the rest of the college eye, comes back to again.
Get your licks in while you can, he sounds like.
Yeah, and I think, Justin, we are of different ages, but I think we have an appreciation for college football, and the same with Wade, where college football is better when certain traditional powers are good. And I think Nebraska probably fits into that category to some degree. So I think a lot of folks that aren't necessarily Nebraska fans are probably anxious to see Nebraska get back to being Nebraska.
They don't know how it is when Nebraska was Nebraska, guys. They don't understand that 95 team. I understand they won in 70, 71, 94, but that 95 team, look it up and go on YouTube. One of the best teams in college football history. They're still scoring right now against Florida.
yeah. Tommy
He's still
Frazier,
running somewhere.
In Florida, they're still having nightmares about Tommy Frazier right now. Absolutely.
Guys, if I may, real quick, before you let you go, that kind of gets back to what we just saw with Colorado, doesn't it? What did Florida do in that Fiesta Bowl game? They came out of 5 wide receivers and got beat up. And that's the same thing that we're seeing from Colorado. If you do not develop something else, if you do not do something else on offense to be able to help your line out, to be able just to get a different personnel grouping. When a tight end comes in, what happens? You have to change your personnel grouping and bring in another linebacker. Generally, you do. You go out of nickel and you go to 4-3. Nebraska runs a 3-3-5, right? You have to change your personnel grouping. If you don't do that, you're going to leave yourself at harm's way. And so I hope that the Buffs will be able just to change things up, run the ball a little bit more, and look, let Shedeur do his thing and get back on the winning track.
One quick thing before we let you go, and I know you went out there as a spectator, but Shedeur leaving the field early reaction was that's not a good look. There was later conjecture that there might have been an injury involved. Have we learned anything more about that? Was Shedeur injured late in that ball game, or did he just kind of throw up his hands and walk off?
Yeah, Deion Sanders said today at his media press conference that it was for evaluation. And so to evaluate, because remember, a couple of plays earlier, right, he slid, and then there was a targeting call, and they just wanted to check him out to make sure that he didn't have a concussion. And so that's when he left earlier. And to be honest with you, look, you get beat the way that you get beat anyway. No. He went to the locker room. Go and celebrate. Do what you do. But it's all about him being able to go and take care of himself. So it was nothing like that, nothing unsportsmanlike.
Awesome. Justin Adams of CBS Sports Colorado joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Justin, we appreciate your time, appreciate your insight, and look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Hey, fellas, I appreciate y'all. Hey, man, whenever I'm in Nashville and Tennessee, man, I'm going to give y'all a call, man. We got to jump on, do some lunch sometime.
Do that.
Come on.
Do that. We'll get you on live. We'll set something up. Yeah. We will figure something out. Give us a shout.
I love you guys. Be blessed, guys.
Thank you,
We'll talk
Justin.
to you. When we continue here on Main Street Sports today, presented by TOA of Columbia, we'll talk a little baseball because we are, as Wade likes to say, contractually obligated to do so. So stay tuned when we come back to the Lee Company Studios after this.
Do you want to be a bad man? Yes, you do. Do you want to taste sweet salvation underneath the summer moon? Do you need another hand now? Yes, you do. Go see Miss Josie down on Columbus Avenue. All right, Columbus Avenue.
Welcome to JHA Company, your trusted scholastic partner. We continue to serve schools with yearbooks, letter jackets, and graduation regalia. But now we offer so much more. Our school photography division offers high-quality images that capture the spirit and energy of your students and staff. Let us help build your identity, creating a cohesive look that represents your school's values and traditions. Our e-commerce solutions make it easy for schools to manage and sell their branded apparel online. Let's work together to make every school year unforgettable. Visit our website or contact us today to learn more. JHA Company, celebrating achievements, building identities, and creating memories.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com. September 10th, 2003, Javi Lopez's home run to lead off the second inning against Philadelphia starter Vicente Padilla. His 39th of the season was the Braves' 216th of the year, setting a single-season franchise record. Atlanta went on to score another 3 runs off Padilla on 9 hits over 6 innings in a 4-2 victory. The Braves' team total of 216 home runs still trailed the NL mark of 249 set by Houston in 2000 and the Major League Baseball record of 257 set by Baltimore in 1996. 20 years later, they took care of that record. So that was this day in Braves history. Could have used one of those 216 last night. Just one. Couldn't get it.
Oof.
And Charlie Morton hits a guy with a pitch, and then another guy follows up with a double, and that was the only run of the game as Cincinnati defeated the Braves 1-0. Both Braves hits coming off the bat of Matt Olson in the loss. The Mets, well, the Braves got no favors from Toronto after they left town as the Mets won 3-2 against the Blue Jays and took a 1-game lead for the final wild card position out of the National League. And as you were saying at the start of the show, I think we're kind of getting to the point where maybe this ain't the Braves year. And, you know, there's starting to be some doubt as to whether Ozzie is going to get back at all. I don't think Austin Riley was ever expected back before the end of the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
Darno goes on paternity leave. Congratulations to him and his family, but they will be without him for the next few days. It's expected to rejoin the team over the weekend. Chadwick Trump has been called up from Gwinnett, but I would imagine Sean Murphy will get most of the play behind the plate here over the next few days. But, you know, this team as constructed is not a playoff team. And it's nobody's fault, including Alex Anthopoulos, you know, contrary to what Braves fans might tell you. I mean, you don't make trades in a vacuum. You don't just pick who you want and go get them. And those teams want somebody back, and maybe their asking price is too high, and even though most of the trades that Anthopoulos has made have worked to some degree, that doesn't mean that they're all going to. But you're playing with your third string second baseman right now in Luke Williams, because Ozzie Albies is out and now Whit Merrifield is out. So you're down to your number 3 at second base. You're playing with backups at third base, in right field because Acuna's out and has been. You've kind of bubble gummed and chicken wired a pitching rotation together. And I will tell you that I've come around to this way of thinking here in the last few days. As I look at all the injuries that the Braves have dealt with, and they are clinging to postseason hopes, it makes what the Dodgers have somehow managed to do even more impressive.
Yeah, and as you were saying, kind of rattling through all that, I was hearkening back to what we just mentioned on the show yesterday, that, the Dodgers somehow, some way, I mean, not every team is fortunate enough to have an Ohtani, and the Braves have, they have been decimated with those injuries at just inconspicuous times too, right? I mean, a little bit here, a little bit there, and you're just scratching and clawing, and thank goodness you had that big lead early. Otherwise, this might be
before now.
Yeah, this might be a totally different situation instead of just a game behind. But still in the mix. And I mean, the alternative is, you're the Pirates and you're toiling in the middle of the, bottom of the NL Central. You're the Rockies or the White Sox, heaven forbid, that are just, out to sea. With no hope in sight. So at least you're playing some meaningful games in the month of September. And as a baseball fan, that's really kind of all you can ask. The Blue Bloods, the Dodgers and the Yankees of the world, Red Sox, et cetera, that, maybe they have different expectations. But for me, I'm just like, hey, as long as as long as you give me some meaningful games, I don't really care to watch games in April, May, June, July, and maybe even August. But you give me some meaningful September games, that's all I can ask for as a fan, and Atlanta at least is in that position, and you'll be in the thick of things for the next couple of weeks until you can maybe grab some distance one way or the other, it looks like.
Right down to the end, it feels like. 5:45 tonight, they begin a series in Washington. Ronaldo Lopez going for the Braves, 8-5 with a 2.04 ERA. Mackenzie Gore takes the bump for the Nats, 8-11 with a 4.32 ERA. Houston coming off an off day yesterday. They will open that series against Oakland. 7:10 first pitch. Osvaldo Bido. I'm not familiar with that guy, but he's starting for Oakland. He's maybe I should be. He's 5-3 with a 3.41 ERA.
Oh, goodness,
yeah. Spencer Adighetti starting for the Astros, 7-12 with a 4.82. Got roughed up in his last start, but he was the AL rookie. Was he the rookie or the rookie pitcher? I think he was just the rookie pitcher.
Rookie pitcher, I believe.
Of the month for August. 7-12 with a 4.82 on the season. But so we'll be keeping an eye on that. Someone else that we'll be keeping an eye on, although his season is over, former Columbia Central standout Jaden Ham, who played collegiately over at Middle Tennessee State, was a 5th-round pick last year by the Detroit Tigers. All he is now is their number 2 pitching prospect, according to Baseball America. Barely a full year in their organization. He spent, I think, all year at Class A West Michigan of the Midwest League this year. And again, he is ranked by Baseball America as their 95th, their number 95 prospect in their top 100 list. The only Tigers pitcher ahead of him is Jackson Jobe at number 3. Again, the 143rd pick overall in last year's draft out of MTSU, finished the season. They just finished up this past weekend up at West Michigan. He had 122 strikeouts, 31 walks. That's roughly 4-1 strikeouts to walks, by the way, in 99 innings over 24 games, 23 starts. also posted a 2.64 earned run average. So the future is bright for the former Lion, the former Blue Raider. Could start the year next year at the AA level with Erie. And I will tell you, it couldn't happen to a better kid.
Yeah, this is exciting news, right? You get a chance to, I mean, man, the Tigers, they could potentially have a fun little staff coming up, especially considering the prospects and kind of a couple guys they've already got.
Yeah, Screwball is up there. You know, Casey Mize from Auburn is up there. I mean, they've got some arms in a quite competitive, quite as it's kept division. The AL Central with Cleveland, with Kansas City, and with these guys, no joke. Minnesota's not bad.
Yeah,
either.
Minnesota's right there in
Now,
that mix.
The White Sox, and we'll talk about them in a second. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean this could be fun to monitor going forward because they are positioned nicely, and obviously a little local flavor never hurt nobody. So very cool and exciting to see as potentially next year creeps up on us.
Looking forward to continuing to monitor Mr. Ham and his progress. Keep an eye on us. He might pop up on here at some point. Speaking of pitching prospects, Kumar Rocker has been called up by the Texas Rangers and is expected to make his major league debut with a Thursday start. Made 2 starts at AAA Round Rock, struck out 18 batters, walked 1, gave up 2 runs in 10 innings. And, with Blaine Keller's Rangers not having a whole lot to look forward to, they are the defending World Series champions.
A little bit longer
for a few more weeks, but they figured might as well get him up. And this is a great tweet from the Rangers. On Thursday we rock, with a picture of Kumar Rocker from yesterday afternoon when they called him up. So Tommy John in 2023 has obviously bounced back from that. And
that's kind of what threw him off a little bit, right?
Yeah. And, his collegiate career needs no introduction.
But where did I just see this? They busted through some of his freshman year, through 99 2/3 innings, no hitter with 19 strikeouts in a super regional win versus Duke. And he throws 122 innings in his final year as a junior at Vanderbilt. Man, he was a phenom at the collegiate level.
You know what? You have those events that take place and you remember exactly where you were when they took place. That 19 strikeout no hitter against Duke in the Supers, it was on a Friday night. I was in West Tennessee with Jody at a family function, and I had no ESPN. So I'm keeping up
getting
with
updates
that via Twitter.
Ooh-wee.
Yeah, she still has some things. But because I probably would have been there if I'd been in town. But yeah, so this will be a little excitement for a team that has not had a whole lot this year.
Yeah, that's kind of the fun part. We mentioned a couple teams. Thinking back to the Reds last year, when they called up De La Cruz, the Pirates called up Skeens faster, I think, than some may have potentially anticipated. But those type of guys that you have in the pipeline, you got in the system. I'm not saying you hold them back just so you can sell tickets later in the year, but it certainly doesn't hurt. This will be an opportunity to get some extra folks out to the ballpark that you probably, for a team that's 4 games under 500, they're technically still in the mix for a potential, wild card berth. Very, very unlikely, but this is a chance. Yeah, get a little excitement, get a little buzz, and a little preview of the future, perhaps, for the Rangers fans.
Absolutely. We've mentioned the White Sox on a couple of occasions in this segment. The White Sox have a winning percentage of .228. They are 33-112. They have 17 games remaining. Wade, unless they go 9-8, well, unless they go 10-7 in these last 17 games, they are going to tie the 1962 New York Mets for the major league record for losses with 120.
I mean, I'm all about witnessing history. Not usually thinking of it in this context, but we're historical levels of ineptitude are fast approaching.
I like that.
And we will all get to witness.
Yeah. We will bear witness to this. It's going to be bad. And, I don't think they're going to just tie it.
I mean, that division is bonkers. The Guardians are on top of the Royals by 3.5 games. The Twins are 6 back. The Tigers are 9 back. So every team in that equation is 10 games within striking distance. And then the White Sox are almost 50 games back. They're 49 and a half back at the moment. I mean,
everybody is over 500 except the White Sox.
Yeah, I mean, it is rough.
Man,
rough. The Marlins and the Rockies, hey, thanks for coming out, Marlins and Rockies. I see you with your puny little 32 games back in your respective divisions, but you got to step it up to the big leagues if you want to get on the White Sox level of horrificness.
Of ineptitude, absolutely.
49 and a half games back. Man, that is insane.
That's amazing. Hour number 1 of Top 5 Tuesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, has drawn to a close. When we come back for hour number 2, we will be joined by the Blue Raider voice, Chip Walters. Stay tuned when we come back to the Lee Company studios after this.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today. Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Top 5 Tuesday continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. This is hour number 2 in our final segment. Still there? All right, cool. In our final segment, we will be giving you our top 5 HBO shows, and we think producer Mark is going to jump in as well. Chip, the Blue Raider voice, getting ready to join us.
Sopranos.
What's your top?
Sopranos.
Pretty open and shut, according to Chip.
That's your 5.
And by the way, if you haven't seen, there's a 2-part documentary out right now on HBO with David Chase about the Sopranos that just dropped here in the last week or so, and if you're a Sopranos fan, it's fantastic.
Saw it on the crawl. Have not watched it yet, but it's good to know that it sounds like it's already got your endorsement potentially.
Mine and my basketball analyst as well, Coach Turnham. I'll give you just a little hint how much we liked that show. Kyle, myself, and Mo remembers Ryan Simmons, who worked in media relations. Mm-hmm. When it came down to when there was a final season of The Sopranos, and they said there'd be 9 episodes, we decided, okay, we're going to have dinner together every Sunday night and rotate it from house to house. So each one of us hosted 3 times, and in the final season, and on the final night, our friend of all of us, Diane Turnham, cooked a nice Italian dinner and watched the final show, and still are trying to figure out what happened.
Hey, it's funny you say that, Chip. I'll never forget. I was at MTSU in electronic media journalism news writing class, and that was one of the headlines we had to pull off the AP wire, was to write about how shocking the ending was of that episode because it had made national headlines at that time.
Yep, and it did, and everybody number one thought their cable had gone out. Yes. And number 2, what the heck was that? And then, the more you think about it, and I mean, there were all kinds of theories online and all that, but the more you think about it, the more genius it actually was, which, you think you know what happened, but you're not 100% sure, but you can let your mind kind of, let it be however you wanted it to end. You can let it end that way.
That was a summer school class. Shout out to Dr. Heinrich, who is still in the electronic media journalism program. Unbelievable after all these years.
Roger Heinrich still there. You're right.
He's the man.
Goodness gracious. Chip, how was Oxford?
Oxford was Oxford. I mean, it's a fun place to go. And they I remember the first time I ever went down there, I was doing sidelines with Charlie Mack on the Vanderbilt games, he and Roger May. And I was actually working the sidelines and was right behind the end zone when Chucky Mullins was injured trying to tackling Brad Gaines. I was literally about 15 feet away from it. I may have been the closest person to it, but the other thing I remember about that trip was this was before they had expanded the stadium and done some nice things to it, that we had to fight wasps in the radio booth there at Vaught Hemingway. Now it's super nice. They've modernized a lot of things, especially in the tower. They've added a ton of premium seating. The Grove and tailgating at Ole Miss is, takes a life of its own. And from all indications, the MTSU alumni group that had a tailgate set up there right on the circle or on the Grove, in the Grove, or right in there, had a great experience. Everybody was super nice and all of that. Had a big time. The football game, as Derek Mason warned about, he goes, we've got to be able, for us to have success, Middle has got to be able to withstand the early wave. And that's exactly what happened. It is very, very hard to simulate the speed at which and tempo at which Ole Miss plays. I mean, their linemen, once the whistle sounds, they are sprinting to get back to the line for the next snap. And it's just really hard to deal with a team that does it really well, which they do. And on top of that, they have gotten much better up front. Jackson Dart, he completed 24 in a row before he missed his last two and coming out of the game. And then in middle after, and I told this to Coach Mason last night, I was looking back at my notes, and that on the final play of the first quarter, middle got its first down after 2 3-and-outs, and that kind of got things going. After they didn't score that drive, but they got a couple of first downs and got a little something going offensively. Then on the final drive of the first half, they drove it down and got a field goal. So, and then their opening drive of the second half drove it 80 yards on like 11 plays, and it ended, unfortunately, with an interception in the end zone. But it showed that they could drive the football, and there were 3 drives that very easily could have ended up with points. You had that drive that ended with an interception. You had another drive on a 4th down play that ended with a replay on a inbounds out of bounds catch that turned the ball over, and then you had another turnover on downs at the 6-yard line. So, they did a lot of things offensively that they did not reap any rewards from on the scoreboard. And the defense tackled better after a slow start. And Derek was the first person to talk about that the first 10 minutes, they just did not play well in against a top 10 team who actually moved up from number 6 to number 5 after the game over the weekend. And it, you take what you can from that and learn from it and learn that you could eventually play toe to toe with them in particular in the second half, and played fairly well. And you take that, you move on and get into your conference, which you got Western Kentucky coming in, then you got Duke coming in, and then you go to Memphis. So the gauntlet is still there of really good football teams. And I think Western is a bit in the same situation as we are, in that you don't really know 100% what you got, because they opened up at Alabama, and everybody knows that Kalen DeBoer certainly wanted to put on an offensive show in his first outing following the GOAT, and then they come home and did pitch a shutout against Eastern Kentucky, and so they did do that. And also TJ Finley kind of got his feet under him, the new quarterback at Western Kentucky. So Middle has kind of had that in reverse. Had the game against Tennessee Tech, then had to go and face a top 10 club at Ole Miss. So this will be one, I think, where both teams will get a legit read on what they are once this one's over with on Saturday night.
And I'm curious real quick, Chip, let's tap into more on Middle in just a second, but you've called some great teams, and you remember Alabama, obviously, last year. Is Ole Miss right now, how good are they? I mean, are we looking at a playoff team for sure in your mind?
Well, I don't know about that, because, you see everybody else, and you're only 2 games into the season. There's a lot of football left to be played. What I do, and Mo, you can kind of chime in, both of you all can, because y'all seen a lot of the opponents that Middle's had to face. And I was asking Wayne Gross this in the car on the way back. I was trying to think, have we faced a better offense than what we faced with Ole Miss on Saturday? I remember, the Florida State offense that, and that one was okay. They were good. Mm-hmm. then I remember the Nebraska team that we faced. Tommy Frazier was the mop-up quarterback in that one for the Cornhuskers. Charlie
We've
Ward,
had two Tommy Frazier mentions on this show today.
and Charlie Ward, by the way, was the mop-up quarterback for Florida State. But we've faced pretty good Tennessee team. Kentucky with Jared Lorenzen. Florida was really, really good the time we went to the Swamp, and I think they scored 55.
One of those Alabama teams, Chip, was pretty good.
Yeah,
was particularly good. I mean,
yeah, and because Middle's played Alabama 3 times now, 3 or 4 times, but as far as explosiveness, this Ole Miss group with Dart and the 2 or 3 running backs that they were rotating in, and I mean they had receivers running free and a really nice target pre-scoring the tight end. This and when you add in their style of play to that, it's hard for me to figure who was better than them from an offensive standpoint that Middle has played. So, but that's totally opinion, and I'm sure there's other people out there who would think, oh well, it was obviously this team or that team. And I remember that Arkansas team we played over in Fayetteville one night they were calling the Hogs a lot over there that weekend, and but it was a lot of hotty-toddy on Saturday, and they're going to be good. They've got some big games coming up, but I thought Middle made some headway in particular once they got over the initial, as Derek Mason called it, got over the wave. And we were talking last night. I said, yeah, that wave at times was a little bit of a riptide, and kind of drug you out a little bit, but then they got their footing better in the second half, and now you just want to build and move forward.
What do you think they build off of going into 100 Miles of Hate this weekend?
Well, I think going into the game with Ole Miss, there were some things offensively that Coach Mason wanted to get done, and in particular, it was getting a couple of his offensive weapons like Holden Willis more involved. Willis ends up with 7 catches, 14 targets on the day. So they got him going, and he was a big part of what got the offense going. I think a couple of the other things has to do with health. What is Frank Peasant's situation going to be this weekend? That will have some look at depth in the running back room. He did say last night we're going to have Bruton for the first time, who's a transfer running back. And also, what is your health in the offensive line going to be? The other thing on the flip side, Tyson Helton has been a really good offensive head coach. He now has Will Friend is one of the co-offensive coordinators who was with Derek Mason at Auburn. So they have some, and TJ Finley was actually there at Auburn when Derek was there. So there's a little bit of familiarity, and there's, and I think they, with that, hopefully Derek has a pretty good feel with what Will is going to do, but at the same time, Will probably has a pretty good feel with what Derek likes to do defensively. So, that will be, it will be a bit of a checkers match there. So, it's just one of those things. And I think Middle feels like they left some points on the field last year in Bowling Green. And I know for a fact that, Nick Vattiato, really feels like he owes Western something. I remember he got thrown in there in Bowling Green really 4 years ago. His true freshman year, he had to go in after an injury and had to start, and really with no experience it all and got kind of taken advantage of. Had 5 interceptions in the ball game, and a couple of them were like the Will Levis interception at Chicago the other day. It's one of those. It was like as soon as it left the hand, you go, "Oh no!" And so I think he's grown a ton, but I think he's going to be laser focused this week and wanting the opportunity to taste victory over the rivals from the north. And so, and we may have some weather to deal with again this weekend. So does it look, I think everybody hopes that if this is going to have landfall tomorrow along the Gulf Coast, that it, goes ahead and moves north as quickly as possible and gets on out of here. But we'll just have to see. And that's one thing you don't have any control of, and you just play the hand you're dealt whenever it happens.
Chip Walters, the Blue Raider voice, joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Not only is it 100 miles of hate this weekend, but it's also 100 miles of hope, as Western Kentucky and Middle Tennessee State are collaborating on a blood drive.
I think this is the 24th year in a row that this has been going on. It's a blood drive competition, and as we all know, I don't think I've ever heard a news report where people were saying, well, the Red Cross has plenty of blood these days. There's always a shortage, whether it's across the board or whether it is for any certain blood type. But the final day is tomorrow, and if you are a regular blood donor and use the Red Cross app, you can schedule a time at the rec center, or if you're listening right now, you can run over there until 6:00 today for that. And the winner of that blood drive will be announced at the game. And of course, that's one of those things where, yeah, you've got a lot of competition, but in the end of the day, everybody's a winner if there's a lot of activity involved in that.
An extra element of the rivalry. I'm hoping this is fake news, Chip, but it says Western Kentucky won by 3 units last year. That's too close for me to stomach a loss, 454 to 451 in the blood drive last year. But speaking of the rivalry, I wanted to ask you about this. Quote from Derek Mason says he's in on the rivalry. He said his barber is a hilltopper, and he ain't even going to his barber this week.
That's right.
I mean, hey, I'm here for those type of levels of pettiness and hate during this week, right?
Well, that to me, that was his quote of the day yesterday at his weekly press conference. He has talked about how Luke Pascal, who is the Blue Raiders special teams coordinator, has played in this matchup before. Luke is from Dixon, Tennessee, so he grew up and he understands it and has played part of it. So Derek said he's leaned on Luke a good bit this week to talk about it and what it means. But yeah, he said, heck yeah, he goes, I love rivalry games. And he mentioned one that he was involved in while he was head coach at Vanderbilt without mentioning the opponent's name. So he, to me, that tells me he understands these.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he did say, yeah, my barber's a hilltopper, but I ain't going to see him this week. So
Well,
I'm here for it.
2 things. One, he kind of had the upper hand in a little bit of that rivalry that he was referring to. And 2, if my barber were a hilltopper, I probably would not go see him this week either.
This is not the week to do it.
Because I don't know how petty he is.
Well, I wondered, if he has any little side wager with his barber that, hey, a middle win, he gets a free haircut next time.
That's it. Double or nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so, that might be something he has on the table, but apparently he may have snuck in there because he looked pretty fresh with his cut. So he probably got one last week.
Little crispy, huh?
Crispy.
Had a achievement for a Lady Vol netter recently, huh?
A Lady Raider netter.
Excuse me. I'm sorry. I misspoke. Yes. Yeah. A Lady Raider netter. Excuse me. Yes. Elaborate.
young lady with the volleyball team, Andy Spies, I think is how I pronounce her last name, Spies or Spies. She was named Freshman of the Week in Conference USA. Had the first ever triple-double in the 25-point era of college volleyball at Middle. She had 11 kills, 38 assists, and 11 digs in a victory during the Lady Raider Invitational over SEMO. And so a triple-double and very well deservedly named Conference USA Freshman of the Week. So I'm happy for her.
Putting in work, no doubt.
There's no question about that.
Porter named preseason. We've told y'all that Chip is our favorite guest because he sends us a cheat sheet. Porter named preseason first team Conference USA by Blue Ribbon Yearbook. That's Chris Dortch's publication, by the way.
That's right.
But,
Chris Dortch puts out what I think, and I'm not saying it, but I've said this before JP was named first team preseason all conference. I just think Chris's Blue Ribbon Yearbook, for a broadcaster, it is a must have for your non-conference preparation. It's just terrific to have, because he does a nice little roundup on every college team or every Division I college team in the country. And so that's nice. And it also says to me, with Justin Porter being named to their preseason first team all conference, that, Chris is around this area. I've had him on my show every once in a while, and really, he is just an absolute college basketball nut. And I really trust his. I trust his, his knowledge, and it means a lot to me to see JP named to that first team all conference list. And congratulations to JP. And he's going to be part of what I think is going to be a pretty formidable starting lineup for Nick McDevitt this fall.
The Blue Raider voice, Chip Walters, joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, as he does on Tuesdays, except when he doesn't. Chip,
do want to make mention for looking ahead a week, the Duke game, kick time and television has been changed. It was a 6:00 kick for homecoming next week, and on ESPN Plus. It's now ESPNU has now picked it up, and they've moved that to a 3:00 start. So the alumni office, which has a ton of activities, including the homecoming parade and everything else, some of those times have changed. So you might want to check mtalumni.com for those activities. But just know that kickoff now will be at 3 p.m. On the 21st against the Duke Blue Devils.
There you go.
And hopefully not as soggy as potentially this weekend.
Well, I would like the sogginess to go ahead and get through here, Thursday and Friday morning, and clear out for high school football on Friday night, and we're only dodging a little bit of rain and not anything significant.
I'm willing to put up with horrific weather conditions if it means getting the win over Western on Saturday.
Well,
I'll put it that way.
I'm with you there too. So I'm good to go.
Chip's going to stay dry in the booth.
Yeah, he's got the hookup either way, so it's a little bit easier for him to say, I suppose.
Absolutely. Hey, man, we appreciate you.
Thank you, boys. Appreciate it.
Right. Chip.
Bye.
Hey, when we come back to the Lee Company Studios here on Main Street Sports Today, we're going to jump into the grab bag, tie up a few loose ends before we get to the final segment, Top 5 Tuesday, as Wade, Mark, and I give you our Top 5 HBO shows. Stay tuned after this.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers, putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
Top 5 Tuesday continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. This is the Grab Bag. And let's dive into a little of last night's Monday night football game as San Francisco took care of the Jets. Sorry, Wade, 32-19. The Jets never really felt like they were in that game.
Early they did. When Breece Hall comes down and they go on that drive and take the lead, I'm like, okay, I never felt comfortable. You are correct in that regard. Mm-hmm. And San Francisco just felt like they were moving the ball a little too effectively for my liking. So, New York's got to go back to the drawing board. You would have liked to have been able to pick that one up, especially once, the news comes out more on that in a second. Once the news comes out that C-Mac's not going to be playing, you would think that maybe there's a chance. But I don't know. We had some of the juju from last year. The very first play when Rodgers throws the pass out and they have that weird fumble and San Francisco recovers, you're like, great, here we go all over again. It just didn't feel like it was their night. The offense was okay at times, but by and large, the defense just was not. You're not going to win many games when you're giving up yardage and points like they were to San Francisco last night.
Yeah, you talk about C-Mac not being able to go. Christian McCaffrey, in his stead, former Gallatin Green Wave standout Jordan Mason. And, I love talking about some of these former area high school standouts getting it done on bigger stages. We talked about Jaden Ham from Columbia Central in the baseball segment. Jordan Mason getting his first career start at the NFL level, 28 carries, 147 yards. And Joe Buck and Troy Aikman were talking about the fact that he probably hadn't carried the ball 28 times in a game since high school because he split time at Georgia Tech with Jahmyr Gibbs,
Mm-hmm.
among others. I think he was probably splitting some time at some point with Spring Hill's Dante Smith. So, one, Georgia Tech likes Middle Tennessee ball players.
Yes.
But two, again, I texted Greg Arias, Gallatin's play-by-play guy, late last night, and Jordan still has the school record at Gallatin for carries in a game, 36 for 307 yards, 3 touchdowns. But the 307 is no longer a record, but the 36 carries
still stands.
A Green Wave record for a single game. But yeah, 28 carries, and he made them count. And it'll be interesting because it looks like McCaffrey's calf/Achilles is going to have him questionable, for a little bit longer as well.
Yeah, this was one that this was interesting because the news kind of breaks about an hour before kickoff, and everybody's in a panic, especially with their fantasy football and folks getting their bets in and their props and that. And then they interviewed Jordan Mason after, and they were asking him about the result, and he says, "Well, yeah, I knew on Friday I was going to play," and everybody's like, "Why didn't you tell us then that McCaffrey wasn't going to be playing?" But you're right, he played fantastic. He appeared in quite a few games, and obviously in backup duty last year for them. Virtually every game he had at least a couple of totes, but last night was the coming out party, and as impressive as he was, that kind of is exciting if you're a 49ers fan because, for a team that relies on McCaffrey as much as they do, you would almost assume that it would be a death sentence when he is out. But the fact that he was able to get stuff done and the offense was kind of, for the most part, pretty much not able to move along without missing too much of a beat, that was impressive if you're a 49ers fan last night.
I will tell you that Jordan Mason's comments that I knew Friday I was starting have perked some ears across the National Football League and in the National Football League offices.
Oh?
I mean, if they knew that McCaffrey wasn't going to be available, but he wasn't on the injury report until Monday, that's
was it? Yeah, so he wasn't listed at all on the injury report.
I think
then that would be very fishy.
There's going to be some.
But it was great. I mean, and he's smiling, happy as a clam. They got the big win, and it was beautiful because everybody's like, I would not have started McCaffrey had I known what I knew, what you apparently knew on Friday.
Yeah. So, but nice coming out party for him. We talked a little bit yesterday about the Packers quarterback situation. Apparently, they are set to go forward with Malik Willis and Sean Clifford as their top 2 quarterbacks, according to an article on NFL.com that came out earlier today. Meanwhile, Green Bay coach Matt LaFleur says that they have not been in contact with any other quarterbacks, including Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like when you trade and get Willis, at least for this week, he's not saying he is the best shot, but he is their best shot, if that makes sense. Given the timing, bringing in somebody on extremely short notice, it doesn't feel like you really give yourself the best chance. And so even though Willis may not give you a tremendous chance at the quarterback position to potentially win this game, I think he does give you the best. So if there was going to be a move made, maybe we see it potentially ahead of that visit to Nashville next week. But yeah, roll them out and see what you got. And it'll be very interesting to see how they tackle the Colts this week. And man, talk about a contrast in quarterbacks. Richardson can throw the ball 150 yards over the mountains, as was it Uncle Rico would say. And Willis couldn't even get off the Hail Mary at the end of that game the other night. So it will be a wild showdown this week in Green Bay. They're desperate for a win.
No doubt. It's interesting because I thought it was an ankle that Love
MCL,
yeah,
I believe.
that's what I'm hearing now. So, but at any rate, it doesn't sound like the injury is season ending. And again, according to this article on NFL.com, LaFleur doesn't rule Love out for this week. But I think that right now, like you said, Willis has been there. He has had plenty of time to get familiar with the offense and that kind of thing, as opposed to anybody else that you might bring in. But again, LaFleur said, contrary to certain media reports, they have not had discussions with other available veteran quarterbacks. So it's Malik and it's Sean Clifford, who either has been or will be elevated from the practice squad as they get ready for Indianapolis this weekend. So that will, for a team that, like you said, after losing that game the other night against Philadelphia, they need something good to happen right here.
And the crazy part is all three teams in their division above them all won their games. Vikings, Lions, and Bears all won. So the Packers, again, it's a team that's got Super Bowl aspirations. Oh man, potentially staring at 0-2 in a division where everybody won their opener last week.
Yeah. So they got some ground to make up. Peyton. Mark, are we back?
Yes.
Cool. Awesome. I'm not sure what happened just then, but as I was saying, Peyton Thorne, 4 picks in Auburn's loss to Cal this past weekend. Hugh Freeze says he's sticking with him.
Oof.
Now, I mean, I don't know if that's because of, what's behind him, or if he's just trying to show support for his starter, or what the situation is. But in his Monday press conference, it's really hard not to play a man, whether it's Peyton or whoever else it is. It's really hard for me to not play a young man who's consistently the best performer in practice over and over and over again. Having said that, you have to carry that over into the games. You have to. If that continues, we'll have to go in a different direction. So Auburn with Thorne SQB1 last year finished 6-7 under Freeze. And apparently the decision was made to get better folks around Thorne rather than to get better at the position, because Freeze said it would have cost $1 million in NIL to get a transfer quarterback in. So
trying to play the market.
The salary cap.
Yeah, literally trying to maximize the best bang for the buck. I was reading that, and it was interesting too. I was also reading, Hugh Freeze is a little ornery right now, and he came out, and said, that the coaching staff made a few miscues, but he kind of left it out to the players, and even went as far as this week saying that they're going to coach with a much smaller playbook in terms of the offense. So. I don't know, man. I know you got New Mexico coming in. That's potentially a proverbial get-right game, but then again, Cal was supposed to be a pretty good win at home for them. I mean, I think they were.
Mexico State was supposed to be
correct.
A get-right game for them last year.
Exactly.
Well,
they got some weird juju going on at Auburn, and Freeze is talking about condensing the playbook, kind of throwing it out there on the players a little bit. Be on high alert, Auburn fans. Scott Stewart, we're looking at you.
When you start talking about condensing the playbook, you're saying something without saying something.
It sure feels like it.
Yeah. So, yeah.
And quote, run focused this week in the playbook. So, yikes.
Ooh.
Hey, no problem. I'll stick with you at quarterback. You just won't be throwing the ball very much, it sounds like.
Well, I mean,
I can run anybody back there at QB as long as I don't have to throw the ball.
3 things happen when you throw the ball, right? And 2 of them not good?
Not good. Second season for Thorne. He's completed 56% of his passes, 487 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 4 picks through the first 2 weeks. And, yeah, Hugh Freeze not happy. They do get New Mexico, not New Mexico State this week coming in. So stay tuned, Auburn fans.
Well, if it makes Auburn fans feel any better, they aren't the only Southeastern Conference team with some unsettled quarterback situations. Apparently, DJ Lagway played really well in Florida's win over Samford after Graham Mertz didn't play so well in the season opener. But Billy Napier says that Mertz will continue to be the starter as their matchup with Texas A&M looms this weekend.
Yeah, and this is one, I was kind of me and a couple friends were we were putting the screws to the resident Florida fan in the group chat 2 weeks ago. And, yeah, just to make matters worse, Mertz suffers that injury. And, there was even some weird consternation that Lagway was talking about entering the transfer portal after the loss to Miami. I mean, things were not good 2 weeks ago. But you get Samford in there, 45-7. You get him looking good, and everything feels okay. But, yeah, right, now that Mertz is potentially getting ready to come back this week after the concussion, now it just kind of in a weird way, we got this awkward quarterback situation here.
Our intention the entire time has been to play DJ in every game. It's a blessing to have 2 really good quarterbacks, and certainly one with a ton of experience and one without. There's no doubt both of these guys will make us harder to defend. We intend to use both of them, so says Billy Napier. Obviously not familiar with the phrase that if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have none. But Lagway threw for 456 yards in that 45-7 win over Samford, which was a Florida freshman single-game record and 28 yards short of a single-game record regardless of class. So threw for 3 touchdowns. Played in the final 3 series of that fateful loss to Miami, was 3 of 6 for 31 yards and a pick. But, I think that Mertz has been pretty polarizing throughout his Florida tenure. Did some good things at Wisconsin prior to arriving in Gainesville, but I just don't know that he is their guy.
Yeah, tough to say. And what he suffers from, unfortunately, is the fact that Lagway's a freshman, right? And, you can always sell the future. And it's really tough to sell what the Gators have got right now. And what they got right now is a tough team, and what they got right now is a senior quarterback in Mertz. So at least you can sell the future with Lagway. And unfortunately for him, man, yeah, it's going to be a tough go. This is an awkward situation. Florida is in a weird spot, and just because you win a game over Samford, a lot of those lingering issues from the week 1 loss to Miami is still going to be there. And as you said, Texas A&M getting ready to come calling.
And, to your point, if I've got a senior and I've got a freshman that are going to be even, I'm not going to lose with seniors. I'm not going to lose with old guys. I'm going to get something out of it. Now, the flip side of that is I don't know if I'm going to coach young guys that I'm not going to get to coach either. And that's kind of the X factor in Gainesville, I think.
It really is. And almost any other school, you can maybe say, all right, well, if I make the switch to the young quarterback, maybe that buys me a little time. We've seen with the Gators, they will run you out of town in no time. So I don't know that move, that trick up Napier's sleeve applies necessarily in Gainesville like it would anywhere else.
It was former Florida AD Jeremy Foley who so famously said, what should happen eventually must happen immediately.
Man.
So, I mean, Billy Napier may be feeling it a little bit.
They got Texas A&M this week. They got Mississippi State on the road next week, which will be an interesting game. They got UCF, who's not a bad team, with KJ Jefferson, the old Arkansas quarterback, and Gus Malzahn coming to town. And then you got Tennessee on the road in October the 12th. So it is going to be fascinating to see how long Napier can potentially keep hanging on, because it does not feel like he is long for that job for the rest of the season.
CoachesHotSeat.com, number one with a bullet. Billy Napier. Followed by Sam Pittman, Dave Aranda, and Scott Satterfield, by the way. So,
Man, especially because Arkansas they blew that game versus Oklahoma State Saturday.
Yeah. Funny, Clark Lee no longer in the top 20. Guess a 2-0 start will do that. But anyway, should we go to a break, Mark, or should we go straight to top 5 as we sit?
We can go straight into it.
Let's go straight into it. Let's go straight into the final segment. Top 5 Tuesday, presented by Mid-South 5 Fitness. Whatever shape it is that you are in, Thalys Steel will get you in a better one. 2 great locations, one in Franklin, one in Columbia. You can find him at Steel Athletes, STEEL athletes.com. Mid-South 5 Fitness bringing you Top 5 Tuesday. And this week's Top 5 is our Top 5 HBO shows. Now, again, I've not seen a lot of these, but I've heard about a lot of them. So I feel like I can give a representative list, but I will let you and Mark get things started. You specifically. Mark can go number 2.
All right, first things first, you and I have talked about my love for The Wire and how it's the greatest show of all time. So I can't very well pick this topic and then not pick my favorite show of all time.
There you go.
As number 1. Crime, newsroom, journalism. I mean, it covers it all. 5 seasons.
Politics.
5 seasons of an extremely, still to this day, underrated show. I mean, what more could you ask for?
Well,
give me The Wire first off.
Give me Clay Davis as one of your all-time favorite characters.
Well, we can't repeat some of his sayings on this
one
airways.
In particular.
Yeah, one for sure. You basically have watched The Wire. It sounds like through memes alone.
Exactly.
You have. I'm gonna buy you the DVD box set. We're gonna get you caught up for Christmas this year.
You let them know we back up,
man.
Mark, who you got for number 1?
Tell you, The Wire's a good one. I recently just started watching that, but
I need to watch that. I really do. Yeah.
Full confession, HBO has only been included in my show viewing repertoire, if you will, for the past 10 or 11 years. So my list includes more recent content. My number 1 would have to be, according to my eagerness to binge or level of anticipation to see the next episode, would have to be the Game of Thrones. And I would have to bundle that with House of the Dragon. So,
okay, very popular. My number 1 is going to be one that I did actually watch, and it's probably an indication of a little sickness, but I'm going to go with Oz.
Man, that was the OG.
Yeah, that was it's pretty dark.
I watched like 3 seasons of it. Did not finish it. I need to go back and finish. That was well said. That was
dark.
That was dark.
Go ahead. Number 2.
Up next for me, Chip mentioned this one earlier, but I'm going to skip the show that Chip mentioned. But I've watched this show a couple times now, and give me Band of Brothers, which still runs on non-HBO entities. That's how good it is. World War II. I mean, it is as good as it gets. Tom Hanks kind of executive producing. Band of Brothers would be my number 2.
Mark?
I'd have to go with True Detective.
You son of a gun.
Which started with McConaughey and Harrelson, ended so far with Jodie Foster. Yeah, that's definitely my number 2.
I'm going to go old school with Arliss, Robert Wool, as a sports agent. and some of the athletes that they had on for cameos and that kind of thing was really good stuff. So Arliss is my number 2.
Good pull. Shows the longevity of HBO. Been doing this a while. Up next, number 3. Man, I was trying to sneak by and go for a little value with Band of Brothers, and Mark got True Detective right out from underneath me. Up next, Curb Your Enthusiasm for me. I'm an old Seinfeld guy, and then I realized that basically there was an HBO version of Seinfeld, and it was Curb Your Enthusiasm. And so kind of life changed for me in that moment. And Larry David pulling the strings on Curb Your Enthusiasm is my 3rd choice.
All right. Mark?
Yeah, I almost went with that sitcom. It's a pretty good one. But for my 3rd one, I decided to go with Veep.
I've heard a lot of good things about Veep. Yeah.
Very, very timely show considering the world we live in today and the events of this evening.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to stay in the sports realm. I'm going to stay in the OG realm. First and 10 was one of HBO's first, and that was a pretty good one. Delta Burke as a sports team owner.
Good pull. Up next for me, this was a show that was slept on as well. Give me Deadwood. I'm not the biggest Western fan, but I love Deadwood. Al Swearingen is one of the great TV villains of all time, so I'm going Deadwood for my 4th selection here.
Mark?
I'm going to go with some dark comedy. Barry.
Haven't seen it, but I heard it's electric.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Number 4, Barry.
All right. My number 4, sports again. Ballers.
Ooh.
Dwayne Johnson as one of the key characters.
Good show. Yeah. I mean, it's basically Entourage, but sports.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm okay with that.
All right. Number 5.
Last for me, like I said, I'll give Chip The Sopranos, and so I don't want to leave it off my list, but I'll just say that he has chosen it.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned it earlier. I mean, give me Eastbound and Down. Mm-hmm. I mean, that came out in the college years, and that was a show, you knew it was dumb, but you just had to tune in every single Sunday and just see what the heck was going on, and we all got together and watched it. So Eastbound and Down, it went from dumb to absurd, and that's kind of as it faded in later season, but at least the first season, I was all about the Eastbound and Down.
There we go. Mark?
I think I'm going to have to go with Succession for my 5th one.
Okay.
I thoroughly enjoyed that production.
My 5th one will be Treme.
Great show.
New Orleans post-Katrina. Very intriguing show under the circumstances. So
only seen the first season, but it is fantastic.
Yeah. Again, anything with Wendell Pierce has got my attention. So, and him being from New Orleans particularly, that's good stuff. So again, there is our top 5 HBO shows. We may actually have to throw this one up on Twitter and let y'all vote on who had the best HBO show draft. So be sure and look out for that on our Twitter account at @MS_sports today to vote on that. And let us know who had the best draft. That's Top 5 Tuesday. It's brought to you by Mid-South 5 Fitness. 2 great locations, one in Franklin, one in Columbia. Thales Steel getting you swole, if that's what you want to be. Tomorrow we will be on location at First Horizon Park. We hope to visit with Rick Sweet, manager of the Nashville Sounds. We also hope to visit with Cherie Kemp of Athletes Unlimited, Athletes Unlimited, talking about yesterday's news about women's professional basketball in Nashville. So be sure and join us at 2:00 tomorrow, right here. Not right here, but on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. We'll see you then.